Hey everyone, welcome back to the Winsor studio. Today we've got a selection of silvers, bronzes and golds, and I've even got a bonus here. This isn't a fountain pen ink, this is a dip pen only ink, and I'll explain why a little bit later on, but this one is absolutely fascinating. Alright, so first up we have a Robert Oster Shake and Shimmer. This one's called Silver Dawn. You can see the silver shimmer particles sat at the bottom there, so let's give it a really good shake and get it on the paper. All right. Okay, and this wasn't a colour that I was expecting to see here. This is a beautiful purple, actually. Really nice purple. So Robert Oster. Silver Dawn. Just hold that up to show you a bit closer. Obviously, when it dries, that silver shimmer is going to pop a little bit more, but you can see quite a lot of it sat on the top already. Some really nice silver overlay to that purple base. I quite like that one. Next up, we have Diamine Silver Fox. I think this is just a standard ink. And that's just a really nice wet grey. Almost like a storm cloud. It's quite wet, but it's drying quite quickly. At least on the less saturated portions. It really is quite a solid grey. There's not many other colours coming out in this. Quite often you get greys with purple notes. Let's see what it looks like as it develops. Next up, we've got an Endless Alchemy ink, which is Molten Bronze. And there's no shimmer particles in here, so a standard ink. Spread that around as much as I can. I guess that's quite a brown tan colour. I can definitely see the bronze notes in there. But while it's wet, it is looking rather brown. Almost like autumn leaves. It's got really quite an earthy feel to it, I think. But as it's gone on and it's started to dry in some areas and the colour's developing, I can really see that bronze note. It's more of a reddy orange coming through on top of the brown. Next up, we've got a Robert Oster Signature Bronze. Again, no shimmer particles in this one. We'll give it a shake anyway. I'm giving this little pipette a go for these swatches. There's a few comments over some of my last videos. I think using the the muddler end of the dip pen was frustrating people a little bit with me getting uneven proportions of ink out each time, but also, you know, having to tap it. Again, in terms of bronze, this is like a earthy brown. It's a bit more yellow and a bit darker, a bit more tobacco, maybe, than the Endless one. But again, let's see what it looks like when it dries. This is for Robert Oster. Signature. Bronze. There we go. Very wet. Much darker compared to the Endless Bronze. Next up, this is an ink that I've been wanting to try for quite a while. This is Pelikan's Edelstein Golden Lapis. It's just such a beautiful colour. Whenever I've seen swatches of this, I wanted to get my hands on it. I'm probably not going to use a full bottle of it ever in my entire life, so I've never bought a full bottle, but really great that Cult Pens have this in one of their sample sizes. And you can see that kind of gold. It's almost got a green tint to it. The shimmer sat at the bottom here. And as soon as I open that bottle, that blue just really pops. Just get a good amount on there. Okay. That blue is just excellent, isn't it? That's a wonderful blue. That has not disappointed me so far. Let's see what it looks like when it dries. I'll just write on there. There we go. Right, and this one is going to live down here while it dries to give me a bit more room. And next up, we've got Atramentis Gold Yellow, and this is a very translucent, looks quite thin in terms of consistency. But let's see what it does on the page. Gold is a really difficult colour, along with yellows, to get right in water-based inks. Here we go. That's just really bright. That is really bright. That's like looking at the sun. What a nice colour. That's daffodils in spring. Which is pretty amazing, because when you look at it, it definitely looks more orange. Obviously, the white of the paper and the orangey colour of the ink works some magic here. Quite often when you write with gold or yellow inks, they don't pop off the page and they look very flat and illegible. But this one is actually that bright and saturated that is perfectly legible. Would I write a full page in that colour in my journal? I'm not quite sure. There's a selective highlighting or writing particular sections. I think that would definitely work. Next up, we've got KWZ Old Gold. So what I'm expecting from this is, well, there's no shimmer to start off with, but a deeper, darker, maybe more bronzy coloured gold. Let's see what we get. Now, I tend to find with the KWZ inks that I've got, thinking Baltic Memories in particular, it's a very saturated ink and it does write quite dry. So I'm quite interested to see what this one is like. Yeah, and it's actually going on reasonably wet, but much drier than the Atramentis. And I'm trying to, that was a reasonable quantity of ink that I put on there, probably consistent with all of the other ones. And it just hasn't spread quite as evenly. So maybe a bit drier, but it's not. It didn't feel super dry. Let's see. It's like writing. It's definitely not a wet writing ink, that's for sure. So that's the 6 inks from this cork pen sample selection that we've got here. And I did add a couple more so that we could just get a comparison. And, you know, how can you do a golds and silvers and bronzes without having golden sands from Diamine? So we're going to give this one a go. This is a shimmer ink, and I think for me this is the gold standard for gold shimmering inks. Pun definitely intended there. And when I can get it open, quite helpfully, this bottle has actually got a little dropper on it. It's quite great for swatching, but not very good for filling your pen up. As we'll see in a second when I come to write the name on this. Okay, here we go. So you can probably tell from how this is moving around on the page, it is wetter than the KWZ. It just flows around a little bit more. And I'm going to have to pour this onto my dip pen to write with, which is really awkward. Okay, so that's the 8 fountain pen inks. I'm going to let those dry, but while I'm letting those dry, to show them off, and just look at golden lapis here. The gold shimmer on that that's a very heavy shimmer. I really like the blue sat underneath. I'd like a bit more blue coming through, and I imagine that if you write with this with a fountain pen, you will get a lot more blue than the shimmer particles, and it'll be more evenly distributed. That's just a crazy amount of shimmer. So now I've just moved those around a little bit. Let's get to the bonus here, which is this Winsor Newton gold ink. And as I said previously, this is not a fountain pen ink. This is for dip pens only. And the reason why this is for dip pens, you can probably see here, there's this kind of watery solution on top, and then a huge layer of shimmer particles. And those shimmer particles are actually bronze filings, I believe. So this has actual metal in it. So you can imagine what that is going to do to your feed and the nib of your fountain pen if you were to use this inside a fountain pen. It's just going to make one hell of a mess. So don't do it. Reserved for dip pens only. I'm going to give this a really good shake, and then I'll show you what it does on the page, because this is one of the most fascinating inks. All right, so I brought you a little bit closer in so you can see the magic. And this is really difficult to suck this ink up with this pipette because it's just so thick. Oh my word. But let's show you what this does. You can maybe see it on the surface slightly already. If I just do that a little bit, you can see the particles dancing and shimmering, suspended in that solution. And it really is absolutely fascinating. And this is it coating the dip pen quite thoroughly. So let's spread that out. I'm going to put a bit more on actually. A bit more on. Really spread this out. It is very thick, so it doesn't go very far. It doesn't feel dry. but because it's so heavy in particles, the writing isn't great. It can be quite difficult to transfer from nib onto paper. It's quite a unusual and peculiar and finicky ink to write with. I've used it in a few drawings in the past, and some dip pen work. Again, health warning, not for fountain pens, but just look at it. It's absolutely stunning, beautiful gold. Pull you back out a shot again. So let's leave all of those to dry fully. Let's come back and let's have a look at them in all of their glory. All right, these are mostly dry now, so let's go through right from the start with Silver Dawn from Robert Oster, that purple base tone with the beautiful silver shimmer lay on top. It is quite a heavy shimmer. I really like the purple base note, and for me it would be nicer if that shimmer was a bit more subtle and just more in the mix with the purple. Just on the writing as well, the silver is quite dominant as well, quite heavy, but overall quite a nice ink. Then we had Diamine Silver Fox, and this is a standard ink, so no shimmer particles suspended here. There's a bit of shading, but apart from the shading where it's more saturated, just on the right-hand side where you've got that darker, and you do have some lighter bits on the left-hand side and at the top. It is a fairly flat grey silver colour. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It's more of a silver grey than a light wash grey or a darker grey. But yeah, quite nice. And I think it's probably dark enough that you can get away with writing with this. So a page of writing in your journal isn't going to look out of place. But also it is quite a pure grey, unlike something like Diamine Earl Grey, which has other colours in the mix as well. And then we move on to the Endless Molten Bronze, which is quite an earthy brown. Is it bronze? I think bronze is a really difficult colour to capture in ink because the colour of bronze changes over time as it patinas, as it weathers, oxidizes, and changes overall. It's probably a bit more brown than I would like, but overall a nice colour. We've then got the Robert Oster Signature Bronze, which is actually even darker in terms of bronze. So I guess maybe you could say that this is the fully patina bronze when it almost goes black, is maybe what's coming through. There is a bit of shading in there. There's some darker patches as well as some slightly lighter patches in the very wet, saturated writing. It comes out much darker. But yeah, a very dark brown, I would call that. I think we then moved on to the Pelikan Golden Lapis, which was that beautiful blue base tone that when I originally put it on really popped off the paper. It was, bright and saturated, almost a kind of Bay State blue type colour. Now that's faded into the background as it's gradually dried, and that really heavy gold shimmer is sat on top. For me, that is a bit too heavy in this sample, but that shimmer isn't quite as heavy in the writing and strikes a bit more of a balance for me, shining between gold in the light or just blue when you've got quite flat lighting. Really like this one. As I said, I've been dying to try this one out for a long time. This is going to have to go in one of my fountain pens very soon. Next up, we had the Atramentis Golden Yellow, and I can get my hands on this, and this went on as a really bright yellow. It was just so vibrant to start off with. I think I mentioned it was like the sun on paper, and like daffodils in spring, and that still stands as it's dried. It's maybe a bit more muted than it was originally, and maybe the text written there is slightly less legible than it was originally. It's just maybe not catching the light anymore and popping off the page like it was previously. But as I said, this is a really nice, solid yellow. It's very bright, vibrant. For small sections of text, you could absolutely use this in a fountain pen. And KWZ Old Gold. This one much drier. It's a bit more of a earthy brown than a gold, I guess I would say. It does have some kind of gold qualities in there, and that's probably what they were going for with this ink, which is that patinaed aged gold that's more tarnished and brown coloured. Diamine Golden Sands, if you compare this to the bright yellow of the gold yellow from Atramentis, it actually looks a little bit orange, I think. But a really beautiful ink with that gold shimmer. It's almost a goldy green type shimmer that you can see there, sat on the gold orange base tone there as well. Really nice ink, highly rated by many. And then last but not least, and this one probably is slightly wet because it takes an absolute age to dry, which is the Winsor Newton Gold. Again, this is not a fountain pen ink. It is a dip pen ink, and it absolutely is wet in the middle here, so I'm not going to touch it because it makes quite a mess. But for me, this is gold. This is just like putting gold leaf on paper, and it's brilliant for drawing. Also, if you're doing any kind of calligraphy or stylized writing for cards, birthday cards, anything like that, invitations, this is the gold that you probably want to use there with a dip pen. The sheen that you get off the surface of it and the colour is absolutely gold. So there you go. That's a wrap up of all of the inks now that they're dried. Which of my favourites out of these? Well, actually, the gold Lapis didn't disappoint. I've been looking forward to using that one for a long time. The Silver Fox, I can see myself writing with a lot. And this one, the Atramentis Gold Yellow, because it just really pops off the page. If you've got any suggestions of what I should try, do let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more fountain pen and ink related content. And I'll see you next time.